Good morning. Welcome to Unity Longmont Spiritual Center here on this beautiful April 26th while we're still in the pandemic. We are blessed this morning to have Miguel Ramos and Faith Halverson Ramos to provide music. And so let us begin with a prayer. Beloved Presence, Creator of all compassion and love, we seek your comfort at this time. We trust that you are with us, always weaving all of us together. We understand we are called to act differently now in order to protect ourselves and others. Our old schedules and ways of connecting have shifted, and we may feel adrift, yet we are reminded that we are all in the same boat that you captain. As waves toss the boat, we know we can rely on you to protect us, to help us understand how inextricably we are one with all that is, and that we are more than our human body. We are also divine beings of love and light, continuously filled and renewed with you, so that our faith and trust grow. Help us cultivate acceptance of what is and of ourselves so that we might experience peace during this turbulence. And so it is. Faith, Miguel.
We are a center of creation. We are the seeds planted in the stillness. We are a center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. We are a center of creation. We are the trees rooted in fullness. We are a center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. We are a center of creation. We are complete, living in wholeness. We are a center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. We are a center of creation. We are the seeds planted in the stillness. We are a center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. We are a center of creation. We are the trees rooted in fullness. We are a center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. We are a center of creation. We are complete, living in wholeness. We are a center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. Fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God.
Thank you, Faith. Thank you, Miguel. This morning, my talk is on fear. Someone actually requested that. And it's very appropriate to what we're going through. So there's a quote from Joan Chittister: "Life and time are ghosted creatures for us all. They belong to us and are not ours at the same time." We're encouraged as spiritual beings to act out of love rather than fear. But in order to do so, we may actually need to go through our fear. None of us has ever lived through a pandemic like this, and so there's a lot of uncertainty, and fear is a natural response. We often fear the unknown, and every day there's so much we don't know about our world right now, and what we do know is scary. Fear is an appropriate and vital response to imminent danger. When an animal goes through fear successfully and they meet danger, and then afterwards they urinate and shake their body. They literally shake it off. So that's good for us to remember. As humans, our process is often much more complicated. When we experience fear, it's helpful to be able to meet it with loving kindness. We can react to fear with the fight, flight, freeze, or fawning response. When there's true danger, it may be important for us to fight a foe or flee from a foe or freeze in order to stay unseen or fawn with an ambivalent attacker. Our human brains developed a long time ago when survival was much less sure than it is now. And it has not evolved a lot past that in terms of our fear response. Today, there's still danger, especially now with the virulent COVID-19. So many of us are on alert. So many of us are on alert constantly. Some of that serves us because it reminds us to wash our hands, to wear masks, and to stay apart from each other. Even when there is no pandemic and we're in our old normal, our human brains could still be overactive and fear when there need not be any. There was danger, of course, in our old life, but not on a regular basis, hopefully. Unfortunately, our brain continues to react to our thoughts and perceptions as though they themselves are dangerous. We've all been there, it's human nature. So, what brings about our fears is our human workings of our five physical senses, our thoughts, and our emotions. Today, I'm going to talk about the psychology of fear. Next week, I'll talk about the spirituality of fear and how it can lead us to love. For now, though, we will understand that when consciousness gets sucked in, it no longer knows itself as itself. It knows itself as the objects it is experiencing. In other words, you perceive yourself as these objects. You think you are the sum of your learned experiences, and that is from Michael Singer. So I am going to show you something that I constructed yesterday. This is a flow chart of fear. And so you will notice that at the top, there's an event that happens, and that event can be something that's literally happening in our lives outside of ourselves, or it can be a thought or a memory. And then we probably immediately have an interpretation about what is going on. And our body responds, and we have sensations that are declaring we fear. It's helpful then to have some kind of intervention to soothe ourselves at that time. And then the next step is we often identify the emotion. I'm scared, I'm anxious, I'm terrified. And then the next thought is often about me, such as I'm always scared, or things are always happening in my life. And then we have a expression. We express our fear somehow. We take a deep breath and blow it out. We shake, we clap, we do something to express it and allow it to move through us and out of us. Then we go through a recovery of our central nervous system. Everything gets reset and we're safe and we're fine. So that's the cleanest way of getting through fear. What so many of us do, though, is that right about the time that there is an expression, we have a thought, self referencing, and it may include memories from the past of how we've had these feelings because of something that has occurred. And so we then may go into overload. Our central nervous system may be overactive and may be making too much adrenaline and too much cortisol. And then we go into just kind of this residual anxiety. It's there, we're not always aware of it, but it's kind of the shadow that's with us. And because of that, we become hypervigilant and we're looking for danger. And so in this time of the pandemic, I think a lot of us are very hypervigilant. I know that if I'm watching something on Netflix and two strangers get too close to each other, I have concern. If they touch their faces, I have concern. Although my mind knows that's not real, I'm hypervigilant. So there are a triad of three emotions that hold a lot of our discomfort. And one is fear, and that includes anxiety and terror. Another is anger, and it includes irritability all the way up to rage. And another is sadness, and it's sorrow and grief and depression. So this pathway, this flow chart works the same with all of those. So what do we do? We want to practice mindfulness where we become aware of our thoughts, of our body, of our environment. And that doesn't happen overnight. It often will take years and years of practice, but it's really valuable and it's worth the practice. So having just looked at that flow chart, how might something go? An example might be that my loved one is very, very late and I become worried. And then I become scared, in part because my parents, when I was growing up, were not reliable. And when they were late, I was scared as a child. So there's this automatic thing that's happening within me. And then I imagine something has happened that is awful. So I'm interpreting what it is I don't even know. And this again is just a natural process. And then I become aware of the tightness in my chest, of a little bit of nausea, of contraction in my body, maybe a heated face, all different kinds of things that are happening because of the cortisol and the adrenaline that is rushing through my body. And then I might say to myself, God, I am scared. So I've identified that emotion. And then I draw on a habitual thought. People are always letting me down, or the people that I love are always getting hurt. Some kind of practice thought. And sometimes it's not even overtly in my awareness, which is why mindfulness is helpful to catch that. So then I take a deep breath and I shake myself off. I may even do a little bit of a shamanic shaking of hands. And I calm down and I recover. So that can happen. What happens though sometimes is that we keep repeating the habitual thoughts. We keep stoking the fire, so to speak. So what do we do about it? There are a lot of ways we can work with that. Some of that is through practices of breathing, which allow us to relax. Some of that is catching our thoughts and asking, is that true? and most of the time it's not. And we can replace our thought with something more useful. The earlier in the process that we can catch our thoughts, the quicker we can recover. And that is true also if we have had a history of abuse or trauma. It's just going to take longer to reset our central nervous system. So, our mind also includes this wonderful thing called consciousness. And so next week we're going to look at how does consciousness help us remember truly who we are? Because we're more than just this body. We're more than just our senses and our thoughts. So Michael Singer also says, there's nothing wrong with feeling the energies of fear, jealousy, or attraction. It is not your fault that such energies exist. All the attractions, repulsions, thoughts, and feelings don't make any difference. They don't make you pure or impure. They are not you. You are the one who's watching, and that one is pure consciousness. So we connect most fully through that to that consciousness through practices such as mindfulness. So we started off by saying we're invited as spiritual beings to make choices out of fear or love. And what I'm going to suggest is that right now, even if we have fear, that we bring forth love for the fear, for ourselves, and for others. We bring forth love by being kind, by keeping separation when we need to, by giving space, and of being gentle. And so it is. Faith and Miguel, thank you.
Oh, from day to day, it's so hard for me to say if the road that I'm on now will lead me right. But year to year, it becomes a bit more clear. Seems like I am getting closer to the light. And when my burden's great, so that I bend under the weight, and it seems like I'm surrounded by the night. Oh, well, I don't mind traveling along this darkened road. If I'm traveling closer to the light. Every day I start with this compass in my heart, and it helps to keep the road within my sight. And as I go forth, looking for magnetic north, seems like I am getting closer to the light. And when my burden's great, so that I bend under the weight, and it seems like I'm surrounded by the night. Oh, well, I don't mind traveling along this darkened road. If I'm traveling closer to the light. find my burdens great, so that I bend under the weight, and it seems like I'm surrounded by the night. Oh, well, I don't mind traveling along this darkened road if I'm traveling closer to the light.
Thank you, Faith. Miguel. So, as we go into meditation, let us take a couple of breaths together. And be aware of our body. And be aware of our mind. And continuing to breathe, we will remain aware of ourselves as we listen to a version of the 23rd Psalm. My shepherd, you supply my need. Yahweh is your name. In pastures fresh, you make me feed beside the living stream. You bring my wandering spirit back when I forsake your ways. And lead me for your mercy's sake in paths of truth and grace. When I walk through the shades of death, your presence is my stay. One word of your supporting breath drives all my fears away. Your hand, in sight of all my foes, does still my table spread. My cup with blessings overflows. Your oil anoints my head. The sure provisions of my God attend me all my days. Oh, may your house be my abode, and all my work be praise. There would I find a settled rest, while others go and come. No more a stranger nor a guest, but like a child at home. No more a stranger nor a guest, but like a child at home. And taking another deep breath, we remain aware of our body, our breath, our mind, our environment. And so it is. So it's at this time that we do our new donation of love and light by placing our hands on our heart. And again, taking several breaths and being aware of the light and the love that reside in us. Let that expand and be shared with the world. And so it is.
It's all about allowing peace within. In absolute surrender, soul, serenity begins. For when the storm subsided and calm becomes the way, it's all about allowing it to stay. It's all about allowing love to flow. It's setting down your burden and just simply letting go. For as you cease the struggle and love pours through your heart, it's all about allowing it to start. It's all about allowing it to start.
Thank you. Beautiful. This is a poem by John O'Donohue. It's an excerpt from the blessing he wrote called For a Nurse. In this fragile frontier place, your kindness becomes the light that consoles the brokenhearted, awakens within desperate storms that oasis of serenity that calls the spirit to rise from beneath the weight of pain, to create a new space in the person's mind where they gain distance from their suffering and begin to see the invitation to integrate and transform it. May you embrace the beauty in what you do and how you stand like a secret angel between the bleak despair of illness and the unquenchable light of spirit that can turn the darkest destiny toward dawn. At this time, we're all very grateful to people on the front line. And I think it would also be helpful if we recognize that we have within us the energy of a nurse too. The energy of a nurse to take care of ourselves and to take care of each other in whatever way that comes through us as divine action. So we will close our service today with more music from Faith and Miguel. Thank you.
So I couldn't let a service go by without asking you all to sing. So from the safety of your muted homes, we're going to close today with the song, I Am One. I am one with you. You are one with me. As the spirit flows, so do we. So we'll sing this through a few times. When you're ready to join in, join in. I am one with you. You are one with me. As the spirit flows, so do we. I am one with you. You are one with me. As the spirit the Spirit flows, so do we. One more time. I am one with you. You are one with me.